Siguro can we ask Manila Water and Maynilad? Does COA open your books for audit?
Manila Water.
Mr. Chairman, the regulatory office is actually even more demanding on us regarding the audit of our records. And quite frankly, it's beyond even the financial audit because they also perform a technical audit as part of the performance. And very frankly, again, it is not even just on an annual basis or the end of the period. They do it even on a quarterly basis. So I think relative to that particular point of the so-called audit, there are some mechanisms that are in place that the regulatory office is actually performing right now, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair, I think the question isn't answered. I'm asking, is COA opening or scrutinizing the books of our concessionaires?
The Honorable BH is recognized. Herrera D.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Magandang hapon po. Well, following the questioning of Kong Ace, gusto ko lang sundan yung public utility because I believe fairly recent lang kinonsider ng RO na public utility yung dalawang concessionaires. Is that correct?
I've reviewed the records of the office. During the early years of the regulatory office, they took the position that the concessionaires are public utilities.
Yes,
and then they changed
in
their
2004,
position. Yes,
correct?
upon the TWG report issued at the time. Yes.
Okay, after 2004, when did you consider them again as public utilities? Fairly recent lang.
Yes,
if I'm not,
maybe during the
if I'm not mistaken,
last
baka ngayon lang kayo.
administration or
Baka kay Attorney Patrick T lang na term.
2011 or 2013.
So, 2013, you already took that position. So, since then, you stopped, or you asked them to stop charging corporate income tax. Yun lang yung iniba nyo sa treatment of them being public utilities versus agents?
I think that's one of the major consequences of that change in
So what
position.
are the major consequences of them being mere agents vis-a-vis public utilities? Because I want to understand why they refuse to be considered public utility companies. Ano ang mawawala, anong implication or consequence sa kanila? Aside from number one, yun nga, hindi nila mapapasa yung corporate income tax. What
That's
else?
right. They will...
I think clarify ko lang yung corporate income tax has nothing to do with this. Kasi pag public utility sila, then Congressman Barbers is correct. You don't have to tax them.
Actually, the basis for the RO at that time was the 2002 Meralco ruling. Wherein it stated that the public utilities cannot pass on the corporate income tax to the consumers. That's the basis for the RO resolution and the board resolution.
I think it's not the collection of the corporate income tax, but they cannot pass on to us dun sa rate rebasing as expense yung corporate income tax. So that's one implication. What are the other implications?
Another one would be that they would be subjected to the 12% RORB limit for public utilities.
RORB ba yan? Or ROI?
RORB.
So the return on rate base
limit.
based on the NWRB
There
computation?
is an existing issuance by the NWRB adopting one system asset base for the RORB limit.
For the information of the committee, this is also one thing that we have to call on NWRB to make a review on, is how they compute the RORB. Because when you compute the return on rate base, you consider also the assets before privatization of MWSS. So essentially, pag kinompute mo yung rate of return or RORB ng concessionaires, it lowers down because the base becomes bigger because you take into account the assets before the privatization. That's why that's crucial because yung rate of return na 12% dun sa batas is the rate of return, hindi return on rate base. Tama ba ko? When you talk about public utilities, yung limit na 12% talks about rate of return only, right? Hindi return on rate base.
Pareho din po.
Parehas
Parang
pa yan?
return on rate base is also the same as rate of return on rate base. Parang ganun po. Rate of return on rate base isa. Kasi 12% is expressed as percentage, meaning a rate of return. That's the rate of return.
Yes.
And applying it to the rate base. Parang ganun po. Kaya
Ang-
shorten lang po yung RORB. Shorten.
Ang concern ko kasi is that hindi mo makikita yung rate of return ng concessionaires individually. Kasi syempre, pag sinabi mong return on investment, whatever they invest on, kukunin mo yung return nila based on that para malaman mo if they don't exceed the 12%. But because the RORB takes into account the assets of MWSS before privatization, you don't really get a sense of their return based on the investments that they have put in. Do you understand my point? Kasi yun yung doon natin tinitignan, are they really exceeding the 12% limit on public utilities? Of course, if you use the assets that you did not invest on because it was, before privatization, then how can you have a good basis of the computation if they're really, if their investment is not really exceeding the 12% limit? Is that correct? Enlighten us.
We note your observation, ma'am. In fact, since there was a COA audit regarding the
Yes.
RORB limit last 2010,
2010, meron
2010 was the last one conducted. The last recommendation there was for the NWRB to revisit their issuance. So we complied with this recommendation by the COA. We wrote the NWRB to look into their issuance because what the RO is just doing is complying with the existing issuance by the NWRB.
Mr. Chair, that's why I'm bringing this up, because this all came about because of the TWG that was invented during the 2004. That TWG changed a lot of things in the regulatory office, as in totally a lot of things. Number one, declared the concessionaires as mere agents and not public utilities. Decided that COA should not rate audit them, but an independent firm should audit them. So COA practically, yung meron kasing COA dapat na naka-assign sa kanila, nawala yon. Number three, the computation of the return on rate base, naging nabago din ng NWRB. That's why I want also on the next hearing to call on NWRB to make a review of this. And then baka dapat is-separate because, like you said, the limit of the 12%. Because when COA audited them in 2004, I didn't know about the 2010. When COA audited them in 2004, nakita nila that the rate of return of Manila Water was 40%. But of Maynilad was 7%. Kasi time pa lang yun, nalulugi yung Maynilad during that time. But Manila Water was 40%. That's why gustong mag-extraordinary price adjustment ng regulatory office during that time based on the Supreme Court ruling of Meralco. Pero because of the TWG and because they were declared not public utilities, sinabi nila, hindi kami pwedeng mag-extraordinary price adjustment kasi hindi kami public utility. Mere agents lang kami, so you cannot apply the Meralco case to us. So ang naging solusyon ng MWSS, they formed a technical working group na unfortunately sila rin po ang komposisyon nito. Diba? So at the end of the day, when the report of the TWG came out, it was really at a disadvantage to the consumers, if I may say so.
Actually, the Honorable Herrera, the NWRB will be called to this committee hearing to shed light on the points you raised.
Yes, please. And then pati yung sa RO, can you please shed light to that one? Because when computing for the rate of return, I know you understand what I'm saying. Kasi kung public utilities, you consider them public utilities already, the computation of their return will be different. Kasi ang tinitignan mo dito, magkano ang return dun sa ininvest nila. Diba? Are they exceed? That's why COA had a different result. That's why for COA, 40% ang kita nila at malaki. Ewan ko yung 2010 kung anong naging resulta. Maybe you can submit to us the COA audit during the rate audit of COA during the time. I'm sure they had a computation. Do you have it? How much was the rate of return of the two companies during the 2010 audit?
We cannot recall at this moment, Mr.
Okay,
Chair.
but please submit to the committee so that we will see. And then maybe we invite COA also the next time so we also see the wisdom of why they computed it that way. Kasi ang approach nila, public utility, ang concessionaires eh. Iba ang approach ng RO noon eh. Iba rin ang approach ng MWRB. Now, in the light that you are now saying again that they are public utilities, then MWRB should start also revisiting how they compute for the return on rate base. That's why I want to call on them, Mr. Chairman, so that we could settle this once and for all. Kasi kung nagkataon, maraming extraordinary price adjustment na pwedeng mangyari. Dahil dun lang sa treatment between public utilities and mere agents ang ating mga concessionaires. What else are the implications aside from the two that you've mentioned? Are there any major? Yung COA audit yearly, di ba since public utility sila, automatic, kailangan i-audit sila ng COA.
Actually, the COA has the mandate and the power to audit anytime it wants under the
But I don't think
Constitution.
they can open the books of the two concessionaires because they always say they are agents and not public utility companies. So I don't think COA can scrutinize the books of Manila Water and Maynilad. Do they? Siguro can we ask Manila Water and Maynilad? Does COA open your books for audit?
Manila Water.
Mr. Chairman, the regulatory office is actually even more demanding on us regarding the audit of our records. And quite frankly, it's beyond even the financial audit because they also perform a technical audit as part of the performance. And very frankly, again, it is not even just on an annual basis or the end of the period. They do it even on a quarterly basis. So I think relative to that particular point of the so-called audit, there are some mechanisms that are in place that the regulatory office is actually performing right now, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair, I think the question isn't answered. I'm asking, is COA opening or scrutinizing the books of our concessionaires?
The Commission on Audit, Mr. Aquino.
Not the Commission on Audit, it is the regulatory offices auditors that are performing that.
Okay.
Are they third-party auditors? May we know who? Kayo, regulatory office, sino ho ang ginagamit nyo?
For the rate audit, Mr. Chair,
For all the audits that you're doing.
for the rate audit, it's the COA that did the last one.
Okay, for the
For our rate
performance.
rebasing audit and some of our technical audits like the asset condition report or the CAPEX report, we hire third-party consultants.
Sino po ang
Mr. Chair.
ginamit nyo?
For the rate rebasing, it was the joint venture of Test Consultants Inc. and Constantino Guadalquiver Company. Okay, for the technical audits, it is usually the Test Consultant Inc. that gets the consultancy.
Both for Maynilad and Manila Water.
Yes.
When was the last time that the rate audit was done by COA?
I believe it was 2009-2010.
So, hindi siya yearly, diba?
Not yet, but this
So-
year we will be starting to... No. During the time of our current chief regulator, he wants to do regulatory financial audit every year.
Yes. Mr. Chair, that's the reason why I'm saying that COA should scrutinize. Kasi kung public utility sila, oo. Kahit sinasabi ng Manila Water and Maynilad na sobra naman daw mag-audit sa kanilang RO. But
Pero kung
because of
BH,
the...
ang sinasabi nito is, RO can call COA anytime. They're not prohibited to call on COA to
Yeah,
audit.
but they don't open the books of Manila Water and Maynilad to a certain
No, but the
the
regulatory
assets.
office can ask Manila Water Manila to open their books to the audit of COA. Hindi lang siya parang direct office audit. Pero they can do that anytime.
Because during the 2004, they also said in the TWG na wala na dapat part yung COA doon. Kaya gusto ko ibalik talaga yung COA. I'm happy that they're bringing them back. Kasi hindi din nila pinayagan na mag-audit yung COA during the 2004 resolution, Mr. Chair, the one that I was showing yesterday. Kaya very important yun because nga, 'di ba, like you said nga, it has an incestuous relationship, not just because you're inside one building, but because of course it's so difficult to regulate people who actually feed you in essence. That's why we're filing the Water Regulatory Commission to make it really independent. Kahit naman separate building kayo, the fact remains is that your salaries, everyone's salaries still come from the concessionaires, di ba? So at the end of the day, you are regulating people who feed you. And that's kaya mas importante na may independent and meron ding government na check and balance na pumapasok. Whether mas magaling yung independent nyo, pero at least meron pa rin tayong check and balance kasi may mapupulot pa rin tayo doon. That's why I'm asking the regulatory office to make it, let COA also scrutinize the books of our concessionaires, especially the assets, diba? Na that was eventually it will be transferred to us. All the assets that were acquired by the concessionaire since 1997 will all be transferred to us. So dapat yun continuous lang yung audit natin doon. Anyway, I have a question, Mr. Chair. Yesterday, our concessionaires said that they won't anymore bill us for the arbitration award. Kasama
They will not
naman,
collect the award.
They will not collect the award.
Yes.
Kasama naman po doon na yung costs incurred in filing during the arbitration case, hindi naman din po siguro ipapasa sa mga consumers.
Siguro ho, kung BHE, lahat na ho ng cost, kasi kung sinong natalo, siya magbabayad.
Yeah, oo. So
besides the
nililinaw
award,
ko lang kung
yan.
ano ba yung hindi i-collect. Baka kasi yung cost, yung may cost yun eh. Syempre, lahat ng incidental cost of the suit. Kasama po ba yun sa hindi nyo sisingilin sa consumers?
Ang
Yun
panawagan
gusto
po ni
kong
Kong
linaw.
BH,
Syempre, hindi dapat.
huwag nyo na pong kolektahin na rin kung ano man yung cost that is due to the Philippine government. May we ask Maynilad?
Di pa ho namin napag-usapan so far, but we might include that in the TWG discussions.
7.4 na po yung hindi nyo kukunin. Baka wala pang 100 milyon to. Baka pwedeng idagdag nyo na po.
So I would just like to put that on record kasi
Hindi pa-
baka
hindi pa sumasagot
nakakalimutan
nga
natin
eh.
Hindi, yung cost nga, para lang ipa-follow
Yung
up
cost of
natin sa
litigation lang, yung all other incidental cost. Manila Water?
Mr. Chairman, we'd really like to include that in the discussion because I think there were also certain other developments that they told us this morning that are even more disturbing. And that is particularly on the cancellation of that extension,
Yes.
which would have even more severe implications for both of us. So sorry to be able to pass it on for a later discussion, Mr. Chairman.
For Maynilad?
Same, sir, because nga may bagong developments na nangyari.
Ang nangyari ko kasi kanina umaga, kinlarify lang namin kung na-cancel na ba yung extension of contract, yung renewal of extension. Then we were just informed, dito na lang ho, dito na rin binigay yung official letter for that cancellation. So while they still may commitment pa rin ho doon sa arbitral award not to collect, itong mga other incidentary cost at kung ano pa man, medyo humingi muna sila ng panahon. Congresswoman na BH.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Well, I just want to put that on record para pag pinag-usapan, wag nating makalimutan kasi hindi rin natin alam yung costs na kasama nun. I just have a clarificatory question, Mr. Chair. Kasi alam ko, di ba, ang main role ng Maynilad and Manila Water is really distribution. Pero nagsosourcing na rin sila ng new sources of water, which is actually the mandate of MWSS. In relation to that, nagtataka ko, bakit yung agreement for the Wawa Dam was Manila Water and Rason and not MWSS and Rason? Hindi ba yan parang tripartite ba siya? Pero nasa mandate ba dun sa concession that they can also develop new water sources?
Mr. Chairman,
Please, MWSS.
because of our long-term water source takes a long time to be operational, the Board of Trustees sees it prudent to have individual approval on the short to medium term water source for the two concessionaires, ma'am.
Pero it's not in the concession agreement.
Yeah, it's not in the concession agreement. That's the reason why there is a special approval on every project of water sources for Manila Water and Maynilad.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. With regards to the audit of the sewerage collection, have you audited? Kasi di ba like yung kahapon sinasabi ni Congressman Atienza, di ba, tsaka ni Kong JJ Suarez, that 20% of our water bill is actually for the environmental fees, is actually for the sewerage and sanitation. Have you made an audit of all collections that's supposed to be for sewerage and sanitation? Have you separated them already?
The sewerage fees are and sewerage charges collected by the concessionaires are part of the audit, regulatory financial audit of the regulatory office.
But are you able to identify how much exactly has been collected for the sewerage alone?
We could establish that, Madam.
Can you establish that so that we
yes.
know? Kasi
Yes,
yung
Mr. Chair.
ang pinoproblema ko sa inyo yung commingling of funds eh. Yung, can you put a stop to the commingling of funds? Na ito ang for, diba? Yung sa sewerage, hiwalay. Yung sa distribution, hiwalay. Kasi yung nangyayari, nagko-commingling, nawawala ngayon yung para sa sewerage, kaya hindi nagagamit. So, can I request the RO to stop the commingling of the fees?
That would be a novel undertaking because under the current regime or the operations of MWSS Regulatory Office, we are adopting a one-basket approach wherein all revenues really are accumulated to apply to expenditures, whether water or sewerage. So no distinction. All revenues are applied to all expenditures without distinction, Madam Chair, Mr. Chair.
But that's precisely why lacking yung sewerage eh. Kasi nagagamit sa distribution yung ibang pera na for sewerage. So at the end of the day, wala tayong sewerage facilities right now. I mean, meron pero hindi up to date. Kaya, can you try and check on how that can be done? And like I said, I want an accounting of how much was supposed to be for sewerage pero hindi nagamit for sewerage. Diba? You can actually come up with that from the time that the concession started so that we know how much money was collected for that but wasn't used for that purpose.
Yes, Mr. Chair. I think we have provided the committee during the time of the crisis some information, but we will try to retrieve the documents and submit to this committee the information.
Pati na rin po yung pag-aaral doon sa commingling natin na sana hindi na magkaroon ng commingling of funds para clear ang delineation as to what is for what, diba?
We can commit to undertake an activity to review the tariff structure, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Last point, Mr. Chair. A while ago, I think you agreed on the creation of the Department of Water. But yung partner kasi nun, yung Water Regulatory Commission. So I filed both bills, the Department of Water and the Water Regulatory Commission. May I know the sentiment of the Regulatory Office when it comes to the Water Regulatory Commission bill?
We are fully supportive of the bill filed by Congresswoman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Siguro, Mr. Chair, dahil may Department of Water and WRC and yung sinasabi nyo kaninang direction as to ano, kasi yung essence ng WRC, lahat ng mga regulation policies and all that, doon naka-under. And then lahat ng mga strategic or plans or ano, nandun sa Department of Water. Pwede nating isama yung pinag-uusapan kanina with regards to what are the taxes that should be collected, what are the ano, kasi quasi-judicial body na yung WRC. So, that's all for now, Mr. Chair. I reserve my right to more questions pag nag-hearing na ulit.
Thank you.
Maraming salamat po. And I would just like to remind again, yung documents for the projects na hindi nagawa but was collected. I want an accounting of that one. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Chair.
Congresswoman BH.